Hey, I'm RJ from Higher Foundations. Today, I'll break down the exact steps I use using Google Docs and real site examples to map out all of the pages and sections you'll need for a site build. Let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is get something to write on. That could be cue cards, a notebook. I'm going to use a Google Doc. You can use whatever you want, but I would suggest doing something online so you can access this wherever. So let's look into that. So now, as you can see here, I have my Google Doc set up with a title of Nail Salon Site Planning. You can call it whatever you want, but we're going to do a nail salon demo, so I thought we'd call it that. Now, the first step to do is head over to Google Maps. Now, once in Google Maps, you're going to want to search for your location. I just found a random place in Ohio called Fairlawn, Ohio, so I'm going to use that. The next step is to click on this nearby button. This is going to allow you to search for places nearby that location you entered. So I'm going to type in nail salon, and we're going to get a huge list of different businesses near that area. Now, I would go through the list from top all the way to the bottom, because the nicer sites will be towards the top, while the worst towards the bottom. And what you'll do is click on each of these, try to find a website. So for example, this one does not have one, but it has a Facebook listed. So maybe do some digging and try to find, Bellevue Nail Spa website. If they don't have one, just move down the list. Now, determining if a site looks good or bad is pretty easy. We all browse the web all the time, and it doesn't take an expert to determine if a website looks nice, looks bad, captivates attention, or doesn't. Just determine it based on feel of yourself. You are your own consumer expert. You browse sites all the time, and so this should be a piece of cake. Now, take the name of each of these sites, enter them into the Google Doc if you think the site looks nice, and create a list from 3 to 5. Now, once you've done that, you're ready for the next step. Now that you've made your list of sites, you're going to want to go through and find the similar pages. Now, the easiest way to do this is go through each of the site and list all of the pages it has. So I'm going to go into, for example, Anthony Vince Nail Spa, and I'm going to list all of the pages it has, including the sub ones. Once you do this for each of the sites, for example, I have 4, you're now going to want to find the ones that they have in common or the ones that really stick out for your business. The ones that they have in common must be important since they all have that as a similarity. Now, of course, they're all going to have a home page, probably an about page and a contact page, but the other ones could be important too. Now, it's important to mention that every website should be tailored to the specific needs of the business it's for. So just because other sites have or don't have a page or section doesn't mean you're wrong. If your business needs or doesn't need that, follow it. Now, I'm going to go through and list all of the pages for each of the sites. Then I'm going to make a comparison and we'll move on to the next step. All right, here's a list of pages for each of the sites. And then I've condensed them down into the pages that I found important. Of course, they all had a home, services, contact, and about page. But I decided I also wanted to do some online booking, and I'd like to show off some, cool nails that I might have made in a gallery. Now that we've done this, the next step is to go through each of these pages and break down what exactly needs to go inside of that. The things that go inside are called sections. I have a video on sections that I'll link below, but for now, you're going to need to go through exactly as you did with the sites, now do with the pages. Go through each of the sites on each of the pages, and we're going to start with all of the home pages. Go through all the home pages and figure out what sections they have, and then go through and find out what sections they have in common, some important ones, and make a list like that. Let me go through each site for all of the pages, do exactly what I just did before, and then we'll move on to the final step. Alright, so now I've made a new tab of all of the pages that we had in common, and now I've taken all of the sections on this section. I found all the sections for each of the pages that each of the sites had. Then I compiled that and said, okay, what sections are similar for each of the pages and the sections? Which ones do I like too? And now I have this list. Now this list tells me 2 things: the pages I'll need and the sections on each page. Now, the only thing left to do is find the miscellaneous things. This would be the header, footer, and for my example, a booking form. I'm going to repeat the same process again, finding all of the examples on each of those sections. Then I'm going to find the similarities, the things I like, the things I don't like, and I'm going to make that list again. Once this is done, we're going to have a complete rough layout of the site plan. Okay, I've gone and added the header, footer, and booking form section to each of the sites and listed out all of the things each of them had, as you can see here. Then I took that, again, found my favorites, found the similarities, and added that to the important sections tab I have. So here you can see the header, footer, booking form, and all of the stuff that I would like to see inside of it. At this point, you have a clear list of what pages and what content you need for the site, along with a header, footer, and any other miscellaneous things like a booking form, layout, all planned. Now, the next step is to turn this into a wireframe using Figma, which is a design tool tons of web designers love, including me, but more on that in the next video. So that's how I plan out all the pages and sections using Google Docs with real examples. But if websites still confuse or overwhelm you, don't worry. I've helped a lot of businesses with their websites, and I'd love to personally help you on your journey. Just reach out using the contact info below. I'm RJ from Higher Foundations. Thank you for watching. Let's go.